Hey everybody, my name's Ed. Okay, so we're gonna do another comics review. This is going to be a short story arc. This is Journey into Mystery featuring the Black Widow. This is issue 517, 518, and 519. Okay, so this is a code approved book from 1998. So originally, just to back up, Journey into Mystery was an anthology, kind of a sci-fi mystery horror comic in the vein of maybe Twilight Zone or whatever, published by Marvel back in like the 50s. Originally, you had like short stories with twist endings. The original run was taken over by Thor, who continued that numbering in the early 70s. Marvel brought back Journey into Mystery as an anthology with short arcs, various heroes, and used the original numbering from the 60s. And I guess this is 97 when it started again. So several issues feature new characters like Lost Gods. They also have Hannibal King, which is an obscure 70s character. Shang-Chi also appeared. And of course, here we have Black Widow. So just to back up a little bit, people probably already know Black Widow is Natasha Romanoff. She's a character who started out as a communist femme fatale in the Iron Man comics in the early 60s. She defected from the Soviet Union in Iron Man and became a sometimes Avenger. Marvel revamped Natasha's look and tried to spin her off as a solo heroine in the late 60s, early 70s. When her short backup feature in Amazing Adventures ended, she became a sidekick to Daredevil. After that, she became a member of the Champions. And then for a number of years, Black Widow just sort of bounced around the Marvel Universe in various titles and, various, solos or minis, I should say, miniseries. So this is written by Scott Lobdell. He started writing comics in the 90s, writing titles like The X-Men, Generation X, Alpha Flight, including the infamous North Star coming out as Gay Story. He's done scripting for Excalibur and The Darkness, New 52, Red Hood, and Outlaws. Artist Randy Green, I'm not that familiar with Green's art, but he does solid, clear layouts, big, solid panels, clean lines. He seems to have a semi-manga, anime-inspired visuals, lots of thick lines. I thought it was very nice. Good inks, good colors from Rick Ketchum and Steve Olive. Okay, so there's an interesting redesign of Natasha's costume that didn't really last long. Here she's got straps. She's got like the shoulder and knee pads. The widow symbol as kind of a belt buckle. Large energy gauntlets for a widow's bite. It sort of looks like a toned down version of very, 90s Lee Liefeld shoulder pads and pouch designs that were trendy a few years earlier. As far as the art, there's less of the so-called widescreen action visuals that take over in about a year, and by that I mean this is where the hardest we use lots of horizontal panels and layouts to semi-mimic movie screen action. Uh, Green uses pretty old school large frames and mixes it up between vertical frames. It's basically horizontal with basic rectangles. Storytelling is very clear, and he's able to do bold action scenes that come straight at the reader. All right, so so just to show you some of the art here. Oh, should mention this. This is kind of interesting. This is this thing that they were doing at Marvel for a little bit, where they were giving you these kind of fold out update pages, which I thought was pretty fun, pretty useful. But here we go. Here's some of Green's art here. Here's the old lady here. Pow, pretty cool splash page. Here's a good example of how he does the layouts here. Okay, pow. Again, kind of really old school, traditional. This is like 80s style. I mentioned like widescreen action. Here's actually an example of how he's kind of using it here. You got the long horizontal panels, cha 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 cha, and then this leads into kapow. That's just crazy old school superhero stuff. Here's this, here's this new costume for Natasha. These weird gauntlets, shoulder pads, useless straps. What are those straps there for? They're strapping. But again, you mix it up. You can see some of the, I don't know, Will Eisner, Frank, Jack Kirby, Frank Miller. Like I said, very old school. It's kind of 90s, kind of up to date, but it's also very, like I said, old school, simple layouts. But they're very clear. I really like them here. This here, bum bum bum. Just really decent storytelling. Let's see here. Give a few more examples here. That was issue whatever here. I don't know what these boots are supposed to be either. What's that all about? I don't know. Here's a really cool spread here. Right? Here's the Ebon Flame. Again, like I said, solid storytelling here, very clear. You can tell what's happening frame to frame, page to page. Cool, explosive action scenes here, right? Speed lines. Anime style speed lines, right? Yeah. A few more examples. Yeah, you got the crazy, like I said, old school. What do you call it? Forced perspective. You know, pow. Very Bronze Age. Uh, this one's kind of wonky. I don't know what's going on with that thigh. How is that thigh longer than the whole body? There, I don't want to give too much away. But okay, so moving on. So getting back to the plot, it basically what's going on. You've got a federal agent who's interviewing this old woman who's present at a bank robbery conducted by a domestic terrorist. The old lady is kidnapped by a group that's led by a charismatic female called the Ebon Flame. The Black Widow super spy gets involved, and the old lady tells a story. And as the story unveils, we learn how, of course, the widow has to take down the group and how she might be related to the group, the Flame, and perhaps the widow herself. That is, how the old lady might be related to these various groups and widows. There is a kind of a MacGuffin in the story that's not really super important in the long run. It's really pretty much a fast paced, action, suspense, mystery type tale. So, okay. So, just to put things in a broader context, during that time, it was pre 9/11, but we did have things like the Oklahoma bombings and militia groups, etc., in the news. These were mostly right wing extremist groups, angry young men who mistrust, or not young men, but angry men who mistrust the government and blame them for the economic downturn, loss of personal freedoms, etc. These groups have been around for a while, probably gained a lot more popularity during the 80s, but some groups like the John Birch Society have been around since the 50s. A lot of these guys are mostly just talk, but there are groups like the Order and Timothy Yute, etc., who were willing to act on their beliefs. Ironically enough, the story is called Fire Next Time, and it comes from a book by Black author and civil rights activist James Baldwin. But again, the story is not super deep. But we do get an interesting and entertaining story out of it. Natasha's depicted as serious but not lacking in humor and compassion. She's portrayed as a good fighter, clever agent, capable of scheming and planning and a little bit of duplicity. The federal agent is interesting, but he isn't really given a lot to do as far as the big action sets. He's more there to listen to the accounts of the story and the clues and maybe figure out how all the pieces fit together. There is a fun twist involving the identity of the Ebon Flame, but I won't give that away here. So, in conclusion, while the story is not spectacular, not super complex, but it's a solid, corny comic book writing and art. If it was a little bit longer than 3 issues, the story could have had more room to breathe. Perhaps maybe more complex characterizations and a more nuanced look at the politics surrounding the story. But as it stands, though, Journey into Mystery 517 to 519, Fire Next Time, starring Black Widow. Fast paced and fun. It's topical and it's still relevant regarding a couple of the social issues that it touches on. So it's a fun story, and it's, be worth your while to seek it out. All right, so thank you very much. I do appreciate you watching, and you guys have a great day. All right.